Well, got to get this done, people. All right. Now, this part is really important, but like I say, because a lot of states now are looking at using the Constitution to solidify their stance against unconstitutional acts by the federal government. And every state has a right to do that. It is their duty to do that, as well as us as citizens. So please understand the Constitution. Even get your state's Constitution, as well as this document. And if you don't believe that this is crucial, you watch my series on SR 93549, which means Senate Report 93549, where the 93rd the 93rd session of Congress comes right out and says that in a time of a national emergency, that the Constitution becomes null and void, which also includes your Bill of Rights. This is from the Congress, people. And I've got one that I'll also, if this won't get anybody motivated, I'll even do the one from 2001, 7 days after 9/11 occurred. And if there's anything from the Senate beyond that point, I'll even go digging for that if I have to prove to you that there is no Constitution in effect, and in fact we are under a dictatorship. I have had videos posted of that in my previous account. I don't know if I still have them in this one. Might not have got around to it because most people just blew it off. Just like they blew off that we're still locked into a partial ownership by Britain because of our bankruptcy in 1930 in Geneva, which was finalized in 1933 versus the Erie versus Staunton, I believe, is the other party's name. I have that documentation as well. So I'm not just here to be on the damn video. I have no desire to be a star. My natural instinct is to just keep low, stay off the radar. Don't even let anybody know I exist. Just be as quiet as a church mouse. So for me to come out here and to cover these issues, you got to understand, for someone who is more of an introvert than an extrovert, this is very hard to do. So it must be very important to get someone like me to place my ass on the line to post this information on the internet. All right? So maybe you ought to think, well, if he's going to that extent and he feels it's that dangerous to himself to do this, maybe it might be something I need to know. Maybe it's something I might need to look at. Well, I hope you do. Really, I truly hope you do, people. All right. Now, each of the several state legislatures shall adopt legislation as necessary to recall from office any elected or appointed public official for failure to respond to any proper petition for redress of grievances. Number 1. The state legislatures shall refuse to accept any and all federal funds until all three branches of the federal government are in compliance with the instructions in B and E above. Now, 2. The state legislatures shall adopt legislation providing the institution of a citizens' grand jury for the purpose of hearing complaints and issuing indictments against any public official who may be in violation of his or her oath of office and or of the accountability clause of the First Amendment. 3. The state legislatures shall adopt legislation removing impediments to and restoring writs of quo warranto and to obtain a hearing on the merits. Well, they also ought to reinstall the writ of habeas corpus as well as the posse comitatus act, which prevents the military from being used against the citizens. Well, you have no rights now. Remember what I said about Senate Report 93549? If you just do a Google search, status of constitutional under national emergency, or I don't care what search engine you use or what link you click. It's going to tell you the same thing. The only thing is some sites which are in collusion with the government might say, well, not quite all of your rights are taken away. Just most of them. Yeah. Okay. And I live in a gingerbread house. And I haven't eaten it yet, if you can believe that. All right. This. Yes. All right. G. Recommended civic actions by the people. 1. Instruct the state legislatures and members of Congress to adopt the aforementioned. 2. Form coalitions or groups to lobby state legislatures and members of Congress to obtain the adoption of the aforementioned. 3. Instruct state officials to remove all oath violators from their positions of authority. And 4. Sign these articles of freedom to give the aforementioned the moral authority it requires. All right. Section 4 is militia, firearms, and the Second Amendment. And we've got a footnote 4. A. Remedial instructions to Congress. Whereas the Second Amendment to the Constitution mandates that in order to provide for the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And whereas a multitude of federal statutes constitute de facto infringement. Now, therefore, we, the delegates of Continental Congress 2009, as free people of America, do hereby instruct the Congress of the United States as follows. 1. Repeal all federal statutes regulating the ownership, use, and transfer of firearms and ammunition. 2. Repeal any federal statutes which provide for the taxation or registration of firearms and ammunition. I just like to put a footnote in here. I believe I put it in my favorites. The name of the title of the video is Why Nobody Invades Sweden. Well, it's because they're all trained. They all have arms in their houses. That's why. They all get military training. Yes. No crime there. Nobody's going to want to invade that country. It's just like the Japanese said about us during World War II when they stopped at Pearl Harbor, because they said, no, America, the people own guns, and there would be a gun behind every grass blade. Did you hear that? Japan would not attack mainland America because they knew that behind every blade of grass would be an American with a rifle. That's what kept the Japanese off of our shores. Think about it. And then think about looking at my Defend America First series from very reputable people as well as generals of the armed forces. They, of all people, ought to know what they're talking about. Good, strong defense is also a good, strong offense. We don't get entangled in other people's affairs. That's one of the main things our founding fathers put before us, not to get entangled in others' foreign affairs. And now look at us. How many billions a year do we spend maintaining all of these military bases around the world? Who cares about the rest of the world? We don't. Not from our actions. We only care about our empire and denying anybody else. Well, who really gives a shit? When we've got enough oil here, it's being hidden that we have enough oil here. We didn't need to go to Haiti and do that crap. We didn't need to be doing the cross drilling in Kuwait by American petroleum engineers either, which brought about the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait. You don't really hear that, do you? Yeah, that's what started that whole fiasco, was that they were cross drilling into Iraq. Okay, next one will be coming up in a second, folks. Thank you for bearing with it.